On behalf of our management, principal, the faculty members, and students of the Department of Catering Science and Hotel Management of our institution, I extend a warm welcome to all of you who have joined with us today for this session. My special welcome to Ms. Stella Aldrigueta from Gamba Winery, Valpolicella, Verona, Italy. Welcome, ma'am. We are so happy that you have joined us today, and I'm sure this is going to be very enriching and very exciting here today. And just a brief introduction about Gamba Winery. Gamba Winery is handed down from father to son over the generations and is devoted to wine growing with great passion and competence. The winery was set up in 2003 by the three brothers, Giovanni, Giuseppe, and Martino Aldriguetti, in order to make their dreams come true. They started to make wine by using only the grapes from their own vineyards, designing their own label Gamba, which is actually the traditional family nickname. The winery lies in the heart of Valpolicella Classica wine region, and it owns 15 acres of vineyards set out on terraces on the rolling hills at about 300 meters above sea level. At Gamba, they produce high-quality grapes which are used to make unique and inimitable wine thanks to the peculiar location and also to their great personal and professional skills. So we are very proud and happy to have this session today for the benefit of everybody here. And with this introduction, I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Stella. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Perfect. So good morning from Italy, but good afternoon to you all. As you told, I'm Stella Aldriguetti from Verona, but fortunately from Gamba Winery. Okay. As you can see here, we are in Valpolicella, in the heart of the Valpolicella Classica area. I'm partner of this winery since 2015, and I'm very happy to have the virtual tour with you today. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let's go.
Okay. So sometimes I turn the camera so I can show you better everything around here. So here, for example, we are in the vineyard, in a typical Valpolicella vineyard of Valpolicella, and this is the traditional way we grow the vine in Valpolicella, and we call it double pergola. But you can see one pergola on one side and one pergola on the other side. And the double pergola is very important for the manual selection of the grapes. Now it's a very good time in Valpolicella because it's harvest time. We are harvesting the grapes all by hands. And during the harvest, we have two different phases. During the first phase, we have to pick and select only the best grapes. We cut on the top, the bunches, and we place them in some wooden trays because are the grapes that we have to dry to produce Amarone wine and Recioto wines. We have to pick and select only the best bunches. Okay, as to you, manual picking is very, very important here in Valpolicella. And when we finish with the first phase, in fact, now in the vineyard we have few bunches because we have already picked the best to dry. We come back here for a second time and we pick all the remaining grapes, bunches, for example, too compact to dry. So we use them fresh to produce the Valpolicella Classico wine. the fruity wine, the fresh wine of this land. Okay? And here we have also different varieties of grapes. The indigenous grapes of Valpolicella are Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella, and Molinara, because the Valpolicella wines are the result of a blend of the different grape varieties. Some grapes you have to imagine that they improve the color of the wine, other grapes improve the aroma of the wine, other the body of the wine. This is why it's important, this blend. But the Valpolicella is the land of the wine, but the land of the red wines, rich, full-bodied wines, okay? But manual selection is very, very important. And this is, in fact, the most important part of the process here in Valpolicella, the harvest time, all by hands. Fortunately, we have a big family here. The three brothers, my father, Giuseppe, Giovanni, and Martino, founded the company in 2003. But it's a big family. We are in 9 brothers and sisters. Today, there is also my uncle Federico here. That is one of the 9 brothers and sisters. And as Federico knows, all the family is involved during harvest time for the manual picking, and also some friends of my grandparents. They are from Verona, and it's many generations that come here to pick the grapes by hands. Very, very important, the manual selection of the best grapes. And as you told at the beginning, we use only the indigenous grapes of Valpolicella. It's only our own production, and we have 15 hectares of vineyard around here, all in the Valpolicella Classica area. Classica means the historical part where Valpolicella wines were born, where the denomination was born, here in Valpolicella. Okay, but the land of the big red wines, like, for example, Amarone, that is the king of the Valpolicella wines. In fact, now, I would like to show you the room where we dry the best grapes. Here there is also my uncle, Martino. Bye-bye. That is the winemaker of the winery, with some of the wooden trays where we dry the best grapes. But we go directly to the drying room, because as I told you before in the vineyard, during the first phase, we have to pick and select only the best grapes. You can read the names of the different grapes varieties, like Corvina, the Corvinone grapes, Rondinella, and Molinara. Valpolicella wines are the result of a blend of the different grapes varieties. And this room now is full of the best grapes selected by hands in those 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we pick the grapes all by hands. And then we dry the grapes in this room from September until January or beginning of February. So it's a very long time, but it's a particular technique only from Valpolicella land. It's very, very important to produce the rich red wines of Valpolicella, like, for example, Amarone wine and Recioto wines. Recioto is the dessert wine of Valpolicella. It's a very old wine from this land, I mean, since Romans. And what happens during appassimento process? The water coming from the grapes slowly evaporates, but sugar, tannins, color, so the best part of the bunch is concentrated. So at the end, we have a few quantity of water in the bunches, but a lot of sugar. What does it mean, lot of sugar? It means more alcohol, because during the fermentation, sugar coming from the grapes transforms in alcohol. This is why Amarone is a full-bodied wine, it's a very powerful wine of Valpolicella, but it's because we have more sugar concentrated during appassimento process. More sugar transforms in alcohol during the alcoholic fermentation. And if at the beginning we have in each tray, I'll show you again. If at the beginning we have here 6 or 7 kilograms of fresh grapes, only 1 layer in each tray, at the end we have 40, 45 to 50% less, because a lot of water evaporates. But as I told you, the best part concentrated. You have to imagine that we lose also 30 to 50% of the weight in each trace. But we lose only the water. The best part of the bunches is concentrated. And I try to show you perfect bunches selected by hands. This is the Corvinone. This harvest 2021 will be a very good vintage here in Valpolicella. And as you can see, okay, only one layer here is very important. We select, we pick them, and we place them one by one, all by hands. And you can see that we have also some fans here. Fans, some ventilators on the top, or we open all the windows because the drying process, the appassimento process, is a completely natural process. We don't use chemicals, anything. Only at the beginning, we use fans to keep ventilation in the room. So the grapes get dry, but in a natural way. But appassimento is a very important word here in Valpolicella, but also in the world because it's a particular technique that we have here in Valpolicella to produce the Amarone wine and the Recioto wine. It's not common to find dry red wines like Amarone produced with appassimento process. Usually you have to imagine that appassimento you can use more to produce some sweet wines because as we told, to produce with the appassimento sugar concentrated. This is why usually is more common for some dessert wine, like it could be Recioto in Valpolicella, but not for the dry red wines. Okay, and here I show you one of the stainless steel tanks because as I told you, in January, for example, when drying process is finished, it's complete, we crush the dried grapes and we use the big stainless steel tanks for the fermentation of the wines, of Amarone and Recioto wines. During the fermentation, in these tanks where temperature is controlled, for example, and it takes 30, 40 days for the Amarone wine, the sugar transforms in alcohol. But this is just the beginning of the long process to produce the Valpolicella wines, the wines like Amarone, in fact, for example, because then we have to age the wine, the Amarone wine or the other Valpolicella wines, for a long time, but in the oak barrels. In fact, now we are going to the cellar where we have some barrels, some oak barrels. But I'd like to show you also the view that we have here. Just one moment. It's a very quiet place here. No pollution, no traffic, so everything is important. This is the Marano Valley. One of the 5 of the Classica area. Here you can start to see some of our wines. Amarone, for example, but here, the cellar. In this part of the cellar, you can start to see some oak barrels, but we have some small barrels, the Barrique and Tonon. You can read Amarone 2020. This is always the vintage when we pick the grapes. These are the Tonon 500 liters, but we also have some Barrique 225 liters. So you have to imagine that when we produce Amarone wine, you have seen that we have to select and dry the best grapes for a long time, where sugar and the best part of the bunch is concentrated. Then we have the fermentation in the big stainless steel tanks where sugar transforms in alcohol. But after the fermentation, an Amarone, I mean, according with the local rules and regulation, an Amarone must be aged at least 2 years in the oak barrels. Minimum 2 years. We prefer to age the Amarone 3 years because it's a full-bodied wine, a powerful wine. It needs time to improve and to mature. It will be better. And we also use different, here, for example, some American oak, some French oak, because they give different flavors, different aromas to the wine. For example, French oak is sweeter, more vanilla in the aroma and in the taste, but American oak is stronger, more spicy, or it smells more chocolate, tobacco, coffee. But at the end of the 3 years, my uncle Martino, the winemaker you've seen before, with another external expert, another enologo, they taste the wine and they use both the Amarone coming from French and American oak. So at the end, in the final bottle of wine, you have different flavors, different aromas coming from the two different oak. And we also use different age of the oak barrels. I mean, we use some new barrels and some older barrels. Because when the barrel is new, we have too much taste of the oak into the wine. And we prefer to have less taste of the oak and more the real aroma coming from the wine, more Valpolicella, more lemon into the wine. This is why Amarone is a very important wine here in Valpolicella, but one also of the best, of the three best red Italian wines from Italy, Barolo, for example, from Piedmont, or Brunello from Tuscany. So Amarone, Brunello, and Barolo are the three best red Italian wines, but as you see something, it takes time to produce Amarone wine. Okay, very long time. And I show you here. Yeah, it takes one moment for you to enjoy the cellar, this part of the cellar, where we have the more traditional barrels, the big barrels of Valpolicella. 15, 20 hectoliters in each barrels, 2,000 liters compared with the small barrique we have seen before. Because in these barrels, this is Slavonian oak, we age the more traditional Amarone of Valpolicella. So it means that the result of this wine is more fruity, less taste of the oak, for example. And you can see that we use also the tappo colmatore on the top, the so-called tappo colmatore. Try to show you better. And we use them to see the level of the wine into the barrels, because the barrel is full, but the oak absorbs the wine. So when the wine goes down, we add more wine from the top, from here, in the middle. The same wine that, for example, we have in some stainless steel tanks. Other stainless tanks are neutral, so it has extra flavors coming from oak, for example. When we need to add some more wine, we take from the stainless steel tanks. Same wine, oak barrels. And here there is some water, so air can oxidate. This is why it's important to keep the barrels full. Here, it's a long time, but if the barrels are full, the wine has any problem at the end. And in Valpolicella, we also say that Amarone older is better, and this is true. In fact, if you would like to store, to age a bottle of Amarone for many years, you can do it. But it's important, for example, if you keep the bottle horizontal, because you have to imagine that we use the cork, that is a natural material, so it is in contact with wine and it doesn't get dry. No sunlight at the same temperature. Usually we recommend it like cellar temperature. It could be 15, 16 degrees, so not too hot and not too cold. But the Amarone will be better and better every year in the bottle. And you can also read here that we have Ripasso wine. Ripasso is another of the important wines in Valpolicella. And to produce it, we need 2 fermentation. In fact, the name Ripasso means to repeat something, because in this case, it repeats the fermentation. It's a wine that has a second fermentation on Amarone skins, in contact with Amarone skins. So it's the basic wine that we have, for example, that we produce in September when we use the fresh grapes. We crush directly fresh grapes to produce a fruity wine like the Valpolicella classical wine. A part of this wine, of the fresh wine, takes a second fermentation in contact with Amarone skin. So we are in January, February, when the fermentation of Amarone is over, is finished. So Classico, the basic wine in contact with Amarone skins, takes a second fermentation. With the second fermentation, wine improves in color, in aroma, body. After the second fermentation, the wine, the Ripasso wine, was aged for at least 1 year in the oak barrels. And then, of course, we also have here in Valpolicella the Recioto wine, the dessert wine of Valpolicella, the sweet wine of this land, one of the oldest wine produced here. Up in fermentation, we keep a part of the sugar into the wine, and we have less alcohol compared, for example, with Amarone wine. This is, for example, our Amarone wine. After the fermentation, 50% of the Recioto was stored in the stainless steel tanks, 50% in the oak barrels. So it's a sweet wine, but not too sweet, not too heavy. It's the dessert wine of Valpolicella, the wine to finish in the best way, a lunch, a dinner in Valpolicella. Okay, so the traditional red wines of Valpolicella are Valpolicella Classico wine, so the basic wine, the fruity wine made only with fresh grapes, and 6 months in the stainless steel tanks. So no extra aromas coming from the oak, only the fruity coming from fresh grapes. Then we have the Ripasso. As we told, Ripasso is the wine with 2 fermentation, the only wine of Valpolicella that needs 2 fermentation to produce it, and then 1 year, at least 1 year in the oak barrels. Then, of course, we have the Amarone, the king of the Valpolicella wines, but very important also in the world. And the Recioto, the dessert wine of Valpolicella. So it's interesting when we think about the Valpolicella wines, because they are all made with the same grapes, the same varieties of grapes, the indigenous grapes like Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinelle, and Molinara, but with different process, we have completely different wines at the end. I show you here, in fact, so the different wines from the Valpolicella Classico wine, Ripasso, Amarone, and Recioto. Those are the 4 different wines of Valpolicella. If you look, it's not easy for me to show you now, but I try to show you something. If you see here, you can see that we have Valpolicella Classico with the lighter color, and they will be darker and darker. Because here, as we told before, Classico is made only with fresh grapes of Valpolicella. So the color is light, it's a ruby red, it's transparent. But Ripasso, with a second fermentation in contact with Amarone skins, become darker and also more body. You have to imagine this is the first 12.5% alcohol, 14.5, and 1 year in the oak barrels, in the small barrique barrels. Then we have Amarone wine. A ruby red, but more intensive, darker color compared with the other. Because we have the appassimento process, the drying process, and then 3 years, at least 3 years in the oak barrels, usually 1 more into the bottle. So after 4 years, we start to sell Amarone wine, so it takes time also here in the cellar. And the Recioto, the dessert wine, it is dark too because we dry the grapes for a long time, like we do for the Amarone, or it could be longer, so more sugar concentrated at the end. Okay, but same varieties of grapes, different process, different wines. And I'd like to finish showing you their Amarone wine. Usually, I do it quickly, but usually when we taste the wine in Valpolicella, we start first We hold the wine up to the light to see the color, the clarity of the wine, or on a white surface, see the colors. Then we swirl a little bit the wine in the glass, and we smell it. Also, the wine can breathe, but you can enjoy the different aromas of the wine. Here you imagine, this is an Amarone wine, so we have also extra flavors coming from the oak. For example, this is the Amarone from our vineyard Campedel, aged 3 years in the little barrique barrel. So we have, of course, fruity like cherries, mature cherries, but also some vanilla coming from the French oak, and some tobacco, for example, coming from the American oak. And then the best part of the tasting is also when we try it. We leave the wine in our mouth. And it's very rich. It's a full-bodied wine, this one. And we also have a long aftertaste. An aftertaste here. It takes also more than 10 seconds, for example. Okay, so all the different wines are perfect during different occasions. Classico is perfect for an aperitif, or is our everyday wine, for example, to have on the table with pasta, rice. Is our everyday wine, light, fruity, easy to drink. Ripasso is a richer wine, so perfect for us with some red meat, but also with medium-aged cheese. Of course, if you think about Amarone, it's a full-bodied wine, a powerful wine, so it needs or rich red meat cooked for a long time, but also aged cheese, mature cheese. We have here a local cheese for Monte Veronese or Grana Padano, perfect cheese to match with Amarone wine, but it's the one that we enjoy in some special occasion. It doesn't need food. Sometimes we say that it's like a meditation wine because it's perfect to enjoy also in good company after dinner. You have to take your time and enjoy it slowly. It's a very, very good wine to enjoy. Also, as I told you, without food. And the Recioto is the dessert wine of Valpolicella, so we usually have when we finish a dinner with some cakes, dry cakes, biscuit, dark chocolate, but also with some kind of cheese. We have the blue cheese, the Gorgonzola. It is another, for example, good match with the Recioto wine. So it is important. Same varieties, different process, different wines for all the occasion. But the Valpolicella wines are the richer wines of Valpolicella, of this land. Okay, of the Valpolicella, there are these 5 valleys, but very good tradition in very good wine at the end. So I don't know if you have some question or if Federico want to add something about the wine.
Maybe you could just show also the different price of the wine, so one has an idea what does it mean to when it's more a wine that you keep for 3 years. So what is the value of that wine?
Yes.
And instead of one that is a fresh wine. So.
Yes. So here I show you again the 4 wines. For example, the Valpolicella Classico, the first wine, the vintage is 2020 because, as we told, it's made only with fresh grapes. It's a short process to produce it, but it's one of the oldest wine of Valpolicella. A bottle like this costs €6. So it's a cheap wine, not because it's bad in the quality, but it's because it's faster to produce it. It's for every day. The Ripasso, the one with chew fermentation, here the vintage is the 2017. Is the youngest vintage that we have to sell, 2017, made with chew fermentation 1 year in the oak barrels. This is €15. A bottle of Amarone, this Amarone coming from our best vineyard, Campedel, 2016, because here the vintage is 2016, the youngest, because you have to imagine that it takes 4 years here in the cellar before start to put it on the market, is 28 euros. Okay, it's a little bit more expensive, of course, compared with the other wines, but it has a very long process, coming from the manual selection at the beginning only of the best grapes. And here we have the Recioto, the dessert wine, the sweet wine of Valpolicella, is 16 euros. And you can see that on the neck, they all have the certification with DOC, DOC classico and ripasso, e denominazione di origine controllata. And DOCG, so denomination is controlled and guaranteed. You can find also on the labels this name. And it is for the quality of the wine, but are wines produced only here in Valpolicella. They can produce an Amarone, for example, in Piedmont or in another region. They are wines only coming from Valpolicella land. And when you read Classico on the labels, is because we are in the Valpolicella Classica era, in the old part of Valpolicella, where Valpolicella wines were born. As we told, there are only 5 valleys in the Valpolicella Classica. Marano, that is where we are, Negrar, Sant'Ambrogio, San Pietro in Cariano, and Fumane. Okay, 5 valleys, 5 municipalities of the Valpolicella Classica area. Any questions?
Question here I can see in Amarone wine, what type of grape is used? You already said before.
Yes, but we repeat. We use Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella, and some or Molinara or other local grapes like Oseleta and Coratina. Oseleta, for example, is another indigenous grapes of this land. Very small, but it gives colors to the wine. Okay. All the Valpolicella wines I show you are made with the same varieties. There is a range of grapes to respect, of, for example, a minimum and maximum of each grapes that we can use for the Valpolicella wines, but blend. Usually Corvina is the most important grapes that we have in the Valpolicella wines, for example, in the Amarone wine. Other questions?
Somebody's asking, is there a big bottle?
Yes, yes. This is, I show you this one, but it's not the biggest. This is 5 liters of Amarone, but I show you something special in our shop. We also have here, so today, 1 liter and a half, 3 liters, 5 liters to 12 liters of Amarone here, and 15 liter, the biggest that we have. And this is an old vintage because it's 2005. It's a huge bottle of Amarone. For some special occasion or parties all together, I think one bottle could be enough, one of these.
And also, once I was in Delhi. You are going to work, maybe many of you, in 5-star hotels or good hotels. So once I was in Delhi, and in all the 5-star hotel, you find Amarone wine all over the world, even in India. Also, my brothers, they also export in India, but it was also available a very famous dish that is made with Amarone, that is made with the rice, what is Stella? The risotto with Amarone wine.
Yes, so, very good risotto, and typical here, typical dishes from Verona.
Yeah, and I could find it in the Shangri-La in Delhi, for example. Once I was there, I could find this risotto with Amarone. So that is very typical rice risotto you might be knowing, because in India it's not common to cook the rice as we cook it in Italy, but I guess if you are studying, you know what is the risotto. So it is made with only with Amarone wine.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That is very famous.
And in fact, sorry.
Yeah. Bye.
Now, in fact, as you told, Amarone is important here, but we also export Amarone or the Valpolicella wines in the world. We produce 90,000 bottles in a year, only our own production. It is a medium production here in Valpolicella. But we sell our wines, for example, we are in US, Canada, Holland, UK, Denmark, in Sweden, and also to Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, India, China. So we export also the wines abroad. We have different distributors, different importers in the world. And it's important for us to sell, but also when we also have visitors that come directly here in the cellar, because it's important for you to see also something about the process, to see where we are. I show you something that we are in a very green place, quiet, but very important for the quality of the grapes and of the wine. This is why you are welcome if you would like to come in future, of course.
So somebody is asking, what is the difference between Amarone and Valpolicella?
So the Valpolicella, I mean, the wine, this wine is made with fresh grapes. This is our Valpolicella classic wine, made with fresh grapes and only stainless steel tanks. So it's the name of the wine, but the name also of the wine region, because our Amarone is Amarone della Valpolicella Classico, and the vintage, for example, in this case, 2016. So you always find the name Valpolicella on the labels of the Valpolicella wines, because it's the name of a wine, but also of the wine region, Valpolicella. As I told you, the 5 valleys of the Valpolicella Classica, for example, this is why you always find also the name Classico. Okay, so wine and wine region. And of course, it changed the process. If we think about the Valpolicella, the wine, fresh, fruity, easy to drink, compared with the Amarone della Valpolicella, that is the other wine made with dried grapes, long aging process in the oak barrels, and then 1 more year in the bottles. This is a wine that takes about 6 months to produce it, 12.5% alcohol. This is Amarone. It takes 4 years before start to put in on the market, and is a 16% alcohol. So full-bodied wine, powerful wine. 16.
How many years is the oldest wine? Somebody is asking. So the oldest you have there?
The oldest that we have with the name Gamba is the 2001, because 2001 is the year of the harvest when we pick the grapes. Then, as you know, it takes 3 years. So we started with the name Gamba in 2003. I have to tell you about the name also, Gamba, that is interesting. So 2001 is the bottle, harvest 2001.
So 20 years, huh?
But it's a wine that if you store in the right way, you can enjoy also after 20 years. If you have also patience to wait, of course. But you can do it with this kind of wine.
So he's asking, so the numbers of years of wine fermentation decides the price of the wine?
Not of the wine fermentation, but how long it takes the process. I mean, more quality of the wine, more difficult to produce it, but also times in the oak barrels that improves the quality of the wine. So they are different process. All the wines are made with a different process. If it is a short process, of course, the quality is always good in a Valpolicella Classico wine, but it's fruity, easy to drink. This is why it's a cheap wine. a short process. We need a short process to produce it, and only fresh grapes. We don't dry the grapes. And Amarone is more expensive, but manual selection only of the best grapes, and long aging process in the old barrels and in the bottle, if you would like to wait to store it for a long time at home or in your cellar.
Now, Stella is saying Valpolicella Classico is a cheap wine, but cheap in India means cheap in the sense also low level. But actually, you find in Italy, you find table wine even in the Tetra Pak box, for example, for 1 or 2 euros. So those are cheap wine in the sense low quality also wine. But Valpolicella Classico is already a good wine.
Yes.
Because in India, they are used that a wine has to cost at least 700 rupees, 800 rupees. That it means 10 euros, and maybe it's not even the best wine. If you get an imported wine, since there are many taxes, it costs like 20 euros, 25 euros if you want to find a Valpolicella.
Exactly.
So at least that. So there is a misconception of prices in Italy. It's much cheaper, the price of the wine. There are not so many taxes.
Exactly. So I tell you about the name Gamba.
Yeah, this is curiosity.
Yes, because in fact, today we are here at Gamba Winery, but Gamba is not our name. We are Aldrighetti. I'm Stella Aldrighetti. The family surname is Aldrighetti. Gamba is the nickname of my fathers, of the brothers, and of my grandfather and great-grandfather from many generations, because all the people here in Valpolicella call the brothers Gamba. Gamba means leg. They call them Gamba because they are tall with long legs. So also the brothers decided to use this nickname for the winery. Here in Valpolicella, there are also many families with the same surname. It's very common here, Aldrighetti. So they prefer to use Gamba. That is different. It's something special, but something from us, from our family. And short and easier to remember compared with Aldrighetti.
Yeah, it's common in our area to have nickname. All the family have a nickname. Like maybe in Kerala, you have the family name or something like that. So you understand from where one comes from, or so something like that. We have nickname also in our area for the families.
Okay, so Gamba is the nickname of our family.
So Shankar, how is?
Yeah, good afternoon, friend.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you for this opportunity. I hope you have seen something. Of course.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And our students and the students and most of the professors from other colleges also have joined in that meet. I hope they'll come to know what is Gamba and how they're making the wine, the process of the wine, how they are making. And students, they watch virtually because they just get it from the book, what they put it in the book, but now they see lively, so they come to know how they are making wine with the different grapes and how a different bottling and barrel storage is happening. Everything you have explained very nicely.
Thank you. That's right.
Niveda, madam.
Yeah, I now request our professor, Ms. Niveda, to thank Ms. Stella.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I've seen a questions, but I don't know.
Good afternoon to the one and all press. Good afternoon to the one and all present here. It's such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank the dignitaries on behalf of Department of Catering Science and Hotel Management, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science. I extend a warm welcome to the people for the Student Development Program on Virtual International Wine Tour to Italy. I would like to extend my gratitude to all the delegates of this virtual tour for their presence and contribution to make this a great success. I extend my gratitude to our honorable chief guest, Mr. Frederick and Ms. Stella Adrigetti. We need Gamba to take out time from their busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you for your beautiful explanation of winery, which was such a visual treat for us. That took us all the way to Italy. Thanks to Dr. S. Deena, the director, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, for providing us the immense support to make this event a successful one. I extend my gratitude to our professor, Mr. M. Srihari, and Chef Shankar for organizing this event, even amidst the pandemic. I would like to thank all the participants for making this event a grand success. Thank you everyone once again, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to you all.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All the students are informed to give the feedback link. Okay, fill the feedback.
Sir, how to fill the feedback link? Sir, how to fill the feedback link?
Students, kindly check that check your message box. We have the feedback link. So just that link and you'll get the Google form. If you fill it out, you'll get the certificate in your mail. Kindly give your name in the capital letter and your institution name in the proper text, so you'll get the certificate properly. Again, thank you, Federico and Stella.
Thank you, Chef Shankar.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stella, once again, on behalf of all of us. So, this technology has brought us so close. It wouldn't be possible for us to come to Italy and visit your vineyard or on this day. So, I think this technology-driven education will really help the students explore, much more in this field. So it was wonderful meeting you and hoping to have few more sessions with you if possible in future too. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. Of course, it's a very good way for them to enjoy something here of the process of Valpolicella, of the Valpolicella wines. But I hope to have you all here in future at our winery to see and taste the wine.
Hoping for that day.
Yes. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Thank you to you all.
Thank you. Thank you.